And welcome back to Trip to the Mound. We are the iBaseballChannel podcast. And again, we are here with the Pink Pine Tour about to talk about the pine tar. This was something that did happen over a week ago, but it's still being talked about after. And I've seen broadcasts where pitchers have been talking about it. Managers like Bruce Bochy have had opinions on it. And it brings up a bigger picture, like you said, of always taking the advantage away from the pitchers.
Always.
Yeah. So again, Michael Pineda, New York Yankees starter, was first time that he was noticed with something. He had the little kind of sliver right there on his
smear.
Yeah, a little smear on his thumb that was noticed in the first.
It was in the palm of his hand, Roy.
And so they noticed that. The next inning he went out, that item was gone. Bring it full circle about a week ago. Again, they're playing the Red Sox, and they happen to notice a little pine tar on the neck. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Now they saw something on the neck.
Something
on the neck.
Yes. So again, they ejected him from the game in the second inning, suspended him for 10 days. But again, it's amazing because something like a lot of times if something like this happens. When a suspension happens, everybody say, okay, I get it. This is something that's a rule of the game, and let's let it go. But this was something that brought up a bit of controversy because you had a lot of pitchers, like I said, that were commenting on the notion of what pine tar actually does for the hands. So give us an idea of first of all, why a pitcher would put pine tar on the hands to begin with.
Well, unless you can get a glob of it and put a glob on the baseball, which makes the baseball off balance, yes, that would affect the flight of the baseball. But just to have some on like a little rag that the hitters use, no, I'm not talking about the big stick things that, you're grinding on the thing and globs of the stickum comes off there. Not like that. Talk about the nice, almost more of a oily, sticky stuff that can go on a rag that, by the way, people and pitchers have been using for decades now anyway. And we can talk about all those guys. But the idea is to get a good grip on the baseball. See, the people don't realize that the pitchers, first of all, when the shiny, nice, slick ball comes out of the box, and you take the paper off, and I know some people have probably experienced this. You just take a brand new ball out and say you're going to say, hey, let's play a little catch, and you're at like 25 or 30 feet or 40 feet, and you go, and you flip one. You ever see that ball just take off like a wiffle ball? Well, that's why, God forbid the pitchers have an advantage, so let's get some Mississippi mud, which is an actual product that they buy in a can, and the umpires are supposed to, there's people that work with the umpires, like their clubhouse attendants. They will sit there, and before the games, they got a smear, and they're supposed to rub up the baseball with this mud. The mud has a little bit of an abrasive texture to it.
Okay.
And they rub the baseballs. They're supposed to rub up like 15 dozen baseballs, 16 before every game. Okay. Well, here's the problem with that. If you're in Candlestick or if you're in, Boston on a cold, chilly night, I got news for you. That mud on there is a huge disadvantage to the pitcher because it becomes slick for a lot of guys. And that's why you see they allow us to blow in our hand. Now, we can't touch our mouth. We couldn't used to touch our mouth unless we stepped off the mound, which was stupid in itself, okay? So now you can step off the dirt onto the grass. You can lick your hand, okay, and then supposedly wipe it off, go on the dirt, blow in your hand, and this is all for the poor pitcher to get a decent grip on the baseball, to allow him to do what he, excel at his craft, not because it's going to change the flight of the baseball. That's not going to happen unless you do something abrasively or you do apply some other substances that have been used in the past, or you abrase it. Or yes, if you take a glob of something and stick it on, silly putty, or you stick it on the side of a round object and throw it, it's going to be wobbling off center, and something's going to happen to it. But the idea is that pitchers are not allowed to get a good grip on their tool, just like the hitter is allowed to have stickum and gloves and everything else, and so that they can get a good grip on the baseball bat. It's that simple. And it's an ongoing thing because they just can't they can't figure out, what to do and what not to do and what to allow and what not to allow.
Yeah. Well, and for those people that have never used a rosin bag before, what does that do when you're putting that to your hand?
Well, see, rosin didn't work unless there's moisture involved. So for me, I had to be sweating in order to get rosin a little bit damp so that it becomes a little bit sticky. Because if it's dry out there, you're basically putting powder. You might as well throw like a spitball, So that didn't work for me. I used pine tar on a lot of occasions, and I just put it places where I could get it just a little bit. You just need a little bit of touch, it's kind of like the stickum you use for the basketball,
Mm-hmm.
They don't throw the basketball out because the stickum is not that much on there. It kind of just goes away anyway. It just absorbs it's not there, So it's not like you get a mound on there and you make a pitch and you throw it in there and there's so much on there the catcher goes to throw the ball back and it's stuck to his hand and he can't throw it right. It's not like that. There's products out there that are pine tar but they're a lot what do you call it, the consistency is a lot more fluid. It's not the real sticky stuff. They have stuff that's more fluid that you can, almost like an oil that you can pour out of a can onto a rag. You just simply been used for a long time, Roy.
Yeah.
But
well, and on a recent
pitchers,
broadcast, I heard one of the former major league pitchers recently say, why not just let us squirt a little bit of it into the rosin bag? He said it would be just largely helpful if maybe in that rosin bag you could have just a little touch of pine tar added to it.
So the rags are the ones I used to see were actually like a rosin bag that came in a bag, and then they put them in like a double sanitary sock and tied a couple of knots on it, and it was out there on the mound. So yeah, why couldn't you just with the stuff wipe on where the knot is, where you could just grab that knot and get a little bit of sticky on your fingers?
Yeah,
that would be federal crime.